So we really appreciate the people that have stuck with us all the way to the last session. We're going to try to make this hour fun and dynamic to keep your energy up on this Friday afternoon, and hopefully also do some work that's really helpful for all of you. We want to support everyone in processing what you've heard over the last 2 days and which resources or relationships might really help your next steps. So with that in mind, I do not have any financial disclosures. As you all know, we receive funding from HRSA. So what we want to do in the next hour is start by getting some feedback from all of you about perspective sharing. Then we'll take some time to look at all the resources shared by the presenters and the attendees over the last 2 days. We'll take some time in small groups on topics that are most important to you and finish up by sharing our key takeaways and plans for our next step. So we're going to start with a quick Zoom poll where we're hoping to see from you how you experienced this meeting with regard to your perspective being valued as a conference attendee. So Fred's going to share that. It's just a quick rating for us to keep tabs on how we're doing creating a conference that supports different people with different perspectives coming together. It really helps us over time, even if we're not making NYMAC conferences anymore. I think all of us that have been involved in creating these meetings have learned a lot for any other organizational gatherings that we put together. So we appreciate your input on the poll. And I know we're not going to post that up. We're going to move on to the next thing. But if, Fred, if you want to let me know when you feel like we're set with the poll, I can move on to the survey.
Yeah, we have about 56% of people have participated. So let's just give a little bit more time.
Right.
And yeah, it looks like we're slowing down. So I am going to end the poll in 3, 2, 1. Thank you all.
Awesome. Okay. So we're going to follow that up with a very short survey to gather a little more detail on this issue. As I said, we've gathered this data every year when we host this meeting with the goal of using your input to shape the way we craft other interactive activities. So we really appreciate your input. So you're going to see a link in the chat come up. It takes you to a SurveyMonkey survey. Should only take about 2 minutes. Fred's going to put up some nice thinking music for us, and we'll come back in just a few minutes to move on in this session.
So yeah, again, that link is in the chat. If you click that, that'll open a separate browser window, and we're giving you time now to fill that out. So we'll be playing music to give you a chance to write.
Okay. So I know for sure that we all have really good intentions after we attend a meeting or conference or anything about holding on to resources. But we know how hard it is to find time to look at all those things like this after the meeting ends. I'm definitely guilty of that myself. So we're going to acknowledge that and provide some time right now to allow you to look at all the resources that have been shared by our speakers and by our attendees over our 2 days together. I've been looking through the shared conference notebook over the last 2 days, and it's really exciting to see not only the things that the speakers knew would be important and put in the slides in the first place, but all the things that came through in the chat, people's own suggestions through their work that were able to add context and other perspectives to what the speakers shared. So we're hoping you can share right now. We're going to put up a poll just to get sort of your brain thinking about these issues. In the poll, we're hoping you can share what collaboration or resource might be most helpful for you to reach your goals. So there's going to be a link in the chat, and you can share your thoughts about what types of things you think you could find that might help you in a problem that you're trying to solve in your work in genetics, whether that's as a clinician or as a family or as an advocate. So click that link and we'll pop it up on the screen and see what people are thinking. Oh, great. So right away, somebody's interested in the F2F in their state, which is great. During Patty's session earlier today, everyone had a chance to go find the website for the F2F in their state and really understand the types of things that they can utilize from the F2F. Someone's interested in genetic test results in various languages. Certainly the language access piece was a big one yesterday. And access to telehealth in the right language as well. Yeah, kind of combining two of the sessions, our language access and our telehealth session. The language resources that Rosani shared yesterday. Yep, and some people got to take a second look at those today during her colleague Patty's session. Anything else that's on people's mind, something that you feel like you need, or you need a person that can help you? NORD assistance, great. So people saw things yesterday from NORD that they thought could help them. Educating primary care providers. Yeah, we have a lot of resources that were shared, especially by NHGRI, to help educate professionals about genetics. Patient resources on variants. Variants are always a challenging thing to understand. So if there's resources out there, let's see what we can share with people. I do know NYMAC has a great patient-friendly VUS resource, so make sure we connect you with that. Patient stories, reaching more providers. Yeah, finding ways to create that audience of providers for families to share those powerful stories with. People are happy to have the notebook. Again, the Family Voices website, ways to educate providers. And someone's looking forward to new projects together in the future after having connections through NYMAC, so that's great. And Lisa is well connected to HRSA for rural health resources. Yes, great. Perfect. All right. Thank you for sharing those. So as you all heard us describe during session 1 and the NYMAC team session and a few others, we have tried really hard to stock the NYMAC website really full of resources, especially this year. So if you haven't had a chance, we really encourage you to find a time to go check that out. We have a section of resources just for families, including the one I just mentioned about a very family-friendly way to understand variants of uncertain significance. We have resources for providers and pages for each individual NYMAC jurisdiction, which Radhika and Enrique and Shayla shared yesterday. Each jurisdiction had a little different take on a resource that they thought would be most helpful to their community. So please check out the website. But what we want to do right now is to give you 5 or 6 minutes to go check out the conference notebook. So we've been talking about it a lot. Some of you have been working in there or checking it out over the last 2 days. Remember that there's a page for each conference topic. So what we want you to do is go look for something that inspires you, add resources if you know something that's not in there, or you can comment on challenges and solutions. We also do have a version of the notebook that has been roughly translated into Spanish just using AI, because we just pulled it down right now. People were still writing in it 10 minutes ago. So that Spanish draft version is available for you to view and comment on, but can't be edited right now. We will make a formally translated version of it available after the meeting. So in the chat, you're going to see links to those documents again, and we're hoping you can please go spend just a few minutes looking it over. Find something that excites or inspires you when you see something. We'd love for people to share in the chat if they discover something in the notebook that they think is going to be really useful. So again, we're going to give you about 6 minutes to do this and encourage you to share in the chat if you're finding something cool. As Erica said in the chat, if you can't use Google Docs, because I know some people have that issue, there's also a PDF version in the chat. So you have 3 options. You have the link to the English Google Doc, you have a link to the Spanish rough draft, and you have a link to a PDF of the English version if Google Docs doesn't work well for you. All right. So I hope you guys found things over there, maybe things that you hadn't already seen that might be able to help you out. But again, we'll be making that available to everybody after the conference. If there's anything you want to share that you saw and you're excited about, please feel free to share that in the chat. So over the course of the meeting, we've been kind of thinking about things that seem like key topics that the group might want to discuss further. We're going to share a draft of that list with you right now and ask you to just indicate which discussion you think you would choose to engage in first. This isn't a commitment. It's just a good way for us to get a sense of how many people are interested in different topics. So you're not committing yourself to actually going there. Just give us a sense of what you're interested in. We also want to encourage you that if there's something you really want to talk about that's not on this list, please share those ideas in the chat. So take a look at what we have. Tell us if there's, indicate if there's something there you think you would want to go spend some more time talking about. And also use the chat to tell us if there's something we didn't capture that's really important to you. All right. I think we've heard from most of you. And it looks like we have some interest in all those topics, which is perfect. Still watching the chat to see one last call for anything else that wasn't on the list that you'd like to see as a breakout room, something that's important to you that you want to talk about. If not, we will use these topics and just create kind of some open space to spend a few more minutes seeing what other people know about these issues, what they might have to offer to help you solve an issue that you're trying to address. See if there's other resources that are either already in the notebook or not there yet that your group could add. Great. Okay, so we're going to end that poll. Perfect. And I think, Fred, I think we're ready to go ahead with the groups that we proposed. We didn't see any new ideas, so we'll go ahead with those groups, if that works.
Sure. Alyssa, would you like me to add the time that we have to those groups? The additional time?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do. So we're going to explain a little bit logistically how this is going to happen. I'm pasting into chat now what the topic list will be, and it is a version of what you just responded to in that poll. Just note that the part in bold is going to be what the breakout room is called, because the breakout room titles are limited to a certain character count. And the idea is for you all to go into whichever topic interests you the most, as Alyssa said, and to share with one another what interests you about that challenge. These all sort of represent a challenge. What resources can you make use of to address that challenge? And what resources do you wish there were to help address this challenge? So it really is a kind of resource-focused, resource-sharing conversation. I want to note that the discussion about the Spanish language resources and access, that is going to take place in a separate Zoom meeting. So that's going to take place in Zoom A, where some of you might have been today. And the purpose of that is so that interpretation can be available. The way Zoom works, you can't have interpretation in breakout rooms. That discussion will be conducted in Spanish. And the interpretation will be there so that English speakers can also participate. I'm going to open the breakout rooms now, and then we'll help get you into those rooms. And so let me just confirm that we're all good to go. All right, I've opened those rooms. Feel free to move to wherever you're most interested to move. And you'll be able to move between rooms. If you would like to switch rooms and you're having any issue, you can click leave room and come back here. And Erica and I can help get you into the room you'd like to be in.
So we'd love to welcome you to put anything in the chat, any appreciations or shout outs, something that inspired you in that last discussion, maybe you made a new friend, anything that you want to acknowledge from that last 15 minutes that will kind of stick with you as we move forward. question in the chat. Oh, appreciating Erica and Fred, of course. I got a question in the chat. One of the things we were talking about in our room was about genetic navigators. For those of you that don't know, haven't heard about it over the course of these days, there's a great genetic navigator program that we helped support and build that's now going to be carried forward by the Center for Family Involvement in Virginia. There are some genetic navigators in other states that work with other institutions. The question I saw in the chat was about Pennsylvania. I'm not aware of any in Pennsylvania. I know some of the Northeast states have them, and some of the mountain states have them. So I can follow up with you, Rebecca, on other places. But we definitely hear the question a lot because a lot of people, when they hear the concept, like it. But it was great to hear from Global Genes yesterday that they have a similar program, Rare Concierge, that they mentioned. That sounds like a similar kind of peer support that's very specific to genetics journeys. So I would say if people in states that you're not finding a genetic navigator, maybe that is a good resource to reach out to. Seeing lots of other shout outs, Raven and Kathleen, for their work in rural communities. I'd mentioned before, we definitely left the meeting last year knowing that rural health was an important topic. So I'm really glad that we got to shine some light on that this year and encourage conversation. The language resources discussion group. Oh, okay, they'll be back soon. Perfect.
And I just received word they are back. So welcome back. We're all gathered again.
Perfect. I was inviting anyone to share in the chat if they made a new friend or something inspired them in those conversations. So for those of you that are just joining us, if there's anything you want to share, please feel free to put things in the chat. Wishing Bruce well. Well, I hope, Lynn, that you and Bruce are able to stay in touch. I know how long you guys have been working together. Longer than I have with NYMAC. You guys have been around for much change, for many evolutions of what
Thank
NYMAC
you, Lynn.
has been.
Indeed, indeed.
Now we're actually talking about, at least I'm talking about margin.
Yeah, margin, yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, that's when I got involved. It was still margin.
Yep. So the next thing that we were hoping to do is to think about kind of what you are taking away from today. What's the most important thing that you are taking back with you, or most of us are already at our desks, so keeping with you at your desk, wherever you do your work in genetics. So what are you taking away? And then also, what is your next step? So as you imagine yourself kind of inspired, motivated, after things that you've heard and people you've met over the last few days, what's your next step? So that's going to be a Mentimeter. We'll see that pop up in the chat, and you can share with us both something that you think will continue to affect your work and what you think your next step. A lot of people feeling like they made new connections, definitely gained new knowledge, sense of community, a strong sense of community. That's amazing. That's definitely high on our goal list every time we imagine what the meeting's going to look like. So it's great to see that shake out at the end of the day. People thinking about being open to new collaborations, a new network of individuals to connect with. Yeah, just the idea that other people are struggling too. And sometimes when you tell your own story, it really reveals to you that you're not alone. And there's a lot of people dealing with the same things, wondering the same things, trying to find solutions to the same things you are. People looking to check out their local F2F, hearing from new experts, and to look at the resources that we looked at over the last few days. Okay, so when people think about the second question in the Mentimeter, if you didn't get to it, there was 2 questions there. The second one was to share what you think is your next step in your work. So people looking to research the new resources they learned about, and we really do hope that the notebook will help people with that. As I said, I'm definitely the kind of person that comes home from a conference with a folder, and I'm totally motivated that I'm going to follow up on all the things that sounded interesting to me while I was at the meeting, and I have a hard time doing that. So we're really hoping that if you saw something that intrigued you, that it's going to be super easy for you to find it afterward. So we'll get that notebook out to everybody soon. Perfect. Oh, good. What are we taking away? Spirit of NYMAC will remain. I love that. We're doing our best to help the spirit remain, for sure. That a lot of people still struggling in rural areas. Perfect. Okay. So I'm going to share one more time because I don't want time to end without me saying thank you. I want to thank all of you so much for your time, your engagement. You're still here with us at the end of day 2, which is amazing. We're so grateful for the time you put in and for being active participants. The input that you guys share throughout the course of the meeting, we think is what makes this meeting a little bit different than some of the other ones you might attend. So we really appreciate that. So thank you in all the languages I can find. And with that, I'm going to pass back to Joanne for our closing today, and then we'll end the day again with continuing conversations.